This is the last talk. You've all made it so far. Yay for you. So I know that my talk abstract was very abstract. So I just want to give you a little bit of context about what I'm going to do today. This comes a little bit from a personal experience, and I've been pondering a lot about this subject for a while, and I really wanted to, I felt the need that I had to tackle it in one way or the other. So this talk is not going to be a technical talk. It's also the last talk of the day, so I think that's good. But I was thinking lately that many times I think we're very good in giving advice to developers, like experienced developers or developers who just start now. We are very good in giving them advice in terms of technical issues, like how do we deal with technical problems, our technical struggles. But I think we are missing a little bit on the part of giving advice to developers about how do they deal with their inner struggles or, all the non-technical struggles. So I want to take a moment today and talk a little bit about that. And I really want to stress this very much, that these are things that, these are my own opinions. It doesn't mean that it has had to be the same for you. Like, not everybody experiences this, or maybe not everybody ran into this. But if there is at least one person that can find himself in the conversation here on the stage, then I will be very, very happy. And because I didn't want this to be a monologue, and I have a very, very good friend. We've been talking about this many times when we meet at the conferences. Yay! So, yeah. I really wanted to have, to open up a dialogue with him. So we share our experiences, we share our thoughts about how we view these things. We share how we dealt with these things, and hopefully that will inspire you or it will help you in your own struggles. So without further ado, I want to invite Martin on stage.
Hey.
Yay!
Yay. This is a weird one, isn't it?
Have a seat.
After you?
Why, thank you.
My mother would be proud of me today.
Because?
No, she raised me, with manners that I forgot over the past 20 years. Anyway.
Okay. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi. You might not have met me ever before. So, yes, I have been a developer for the last, what year is it, 2017? For the last 12 years professionally. I have been doing some stupid programming before that, and I have gotten a lot of angry comments and angry emails and angry people at my doorstep online for doing things in the open, and I've learned my lessons, and I feel, honestly, right now, I find this talk very important because I feel, I don't know how to put this, as a very personal statement, I feel like I shouldn't be here because I do not belong to the Angular community, but what makes the Angular community amazing is that I feel welcome because you're all amazing to people who come here and share their experiences, and that's amazing, and that's an applause to you all.
Amen.
So to wrap up with one sentence, I'm not a specialist in anything, but I do a lot of things, and that is tricky sometimes because I meet amazing specialists and experts, and like you wrote the protractor testing guide, I think, if I remember correctly, you worked a little on Angular material, right? We have Pascal who worked on the internationalization library and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, wow, oh my god, these people really know their stuff. And then there's me. Right? So yeah, that's part of my internal struggle, and I think if there's anyone in the audience feeling the same, then just yeah, awesome, I'm not alone.
Cool.
Awesome, keep going. It's worth it. Maybe you sit here next year.
Yeah. I'm gonna open a call for papers next year when I do this.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining. So there are a couple of things that I really want to focus on, and it involves well, what we call like the developer myth and developer stereotypes. And what are they? What do they mean? How do we deal with them?
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I actually want to ask you if you think this is if this is a relevant topic. Like, are people dealing with this thing? Because when I talked about the subject of this talk with a friend of mine, he asked me, "Hey, but is this like are we still doing this in 2017? Like, are we still dealing with this?" So what do you think?
Yes. No, yes. So we're dealing with this on so many different levels. I mean, think of it this way. I've been giving a few presentations in my life to very different communities, and I have been part of the Angular community more actively, not compared to any of the speakers here because they are magic. See, that's the thing. That's part of this freaking myth. I have it internalized. I'm saying, oh, they are magic. You are all magic, everyone's magic, but that's my point, everyone's magic. Like, I'm very sure if I point at a random person in the audience, I'm not going to do that, don't stress out, don't run away for the exits. If I point at a random person and say, like, what did you do this week? They're going to say something that I've never even heard of. So I'm very sure that we are all kind of experts, but we have internalized this myth of the perfect, magical person that descends from heavens, touches a few keys on the keyboard, and then things magically work. Yeah, but you're laughing, but it's true, isn't it? What's your picture if you say a senior developer or a junior developer or a developer? What is the picture that you draw in your head? What makes that? What's the characteristics that you have in your head when you say that?
So there are two things. Like the first thing is, and I've been like, this is something that I've been carrying it for pretty much the beginning since I was in school. It's that the experienced developer is the developer, or a developer is just a person that has it. It has it. It just knows how to program. But there was this one point where I actually, I don't know, it struck me like I never even asked myself, where does that person get it? Like,
right.
Where does it have it from? You know, for me it was just like, oh, it has it. It's just, it knows, like how you see in the movies that you just go and you do it, like you blindfold and you type and then ta-da, like this whole website is built, working and everything.
That's the thing, yeah.
And for me, that was always the thing. It was just this person that has it. And I really don't think it works like that. It's the same as for instance, in dance. I mean, you have ballet dancers that are obviously very talented, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have it.
Get there. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. That's a very good point. This is kind of what I aimed at when I said like descends from heaven and fixes all the problems. And it's the same with hackers. I mean, how are we portraying hackers or IT security in movies? Is there's someone like, okay, Pentagon website, John, password, 25 million different combinations possible, John. Oh, right? And it's more or less, I stole that from Eddie Izzard. Credits to Eddie Izzard, brilliant comedian. But it is this expectations for developers as well. It's like you were born, and then you get a computer, and then you sit in front of the computer not even able to speak to humans, because that's another thing that programmers can't do. They can't talk to people, and they're afraid of other people. And
do you know, when I was in university, there was this myth that like the hardcore people in computer science, if you went to the dorm rooms during the evening and you like stepped inside, there would be no light, but there would be these red lights blinking, and it was their eyes because they were staring at the screen for too long.
Okay, that is an amazing one. I'm gonna steal that for the next party. No, I've not heard that, but yeah, it's the thing. It's literally, I've seen well-meaning HR people showing new, for instance, marketing people around a company that I'm no longer working with, and going like into every room, like, introducing them and like having, shaking hands and going like, hi, my name is Neh. And then they came to the developers room and like, and here are the developers, moving on. And that's not, That's not because they're like, "Ugh, the developers." That sentiment came from the idea, the myth, the stereotype that developers do not want to deal with people. And I don't know about you, but I've been to conference after parties. That statement is not true. Right? I met so many random people.
So you mean you go and you dance?
Oh, I do not dance. I mean, oh God, there's this super ridiculous gif of me dancing at a party. Do not get me started.
I remember you dancing.
Do not post it on Twitter, please. Someone did, and I got a lot of interesting messages.
There you go. So how does the myth become a myth then?
That's a good question. I think, so first things first, if the US elections told us anything, media shapes a lot of what's happening in the world. And I'm not sure if that's a power that should be wielded by privately funded corporations. But, so the media portrays things in a very stereotypical way because they only have very limited amount of time, and it's like, if it's not main part of the plot, then they have to kind of like, you know, spice it up and turn it up to 11. So they are drawing, they're characterizing, whatever, caricature, whatever.
Yeah,
they are basically overdoing it, right? They're making it very stereotypical, very like, oh yeah, that's a sticker for the developer. That's a developer. He's fat. He's a guy. He's white. He's sitting in front of his computer as long as he can, and he does not like to talk to people. That's kind of like the thing that happened in movies. It's also a thing that is portrayed in series such as Big Bang Theory a bit, Silicon Valley absolutely. That's a thing that the pop culture gives us this idea, and things like stories from Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg put fuel into that fire, because it's like, oh yeah, he sat in a college dorm room and they hacked all night, and then boom, Facebook happened. Anyone who has ever built anything with computers knows that's not true. I'm sure it involved at least an hour of npm install and Wi-Fi problems. No, wait, no. Zuckerberg used PHP, so it involved Googling, how do I don't know. But that's the thing. I mean, he is probably very talented and brilliant, but he also was lucky on the one hand. There's always a tiny portion of luck to know the right people, to know in the right spot, to be in the right spot at the right time. And there was probably maybe unhealthy amounts of dedication to it if he really pulled it off. But it's not a thing. I'm relatively sure that on a moderate, normal average Wednesday night, Mark Zuckerberg at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning might not be sitting in front of a computer and going like, why the fuck is this database query so slow, right? He has other people doing that for him. And I think this myth of like, oh yeah, get rich quick and do awesome stuff that then a million, gazillion, bazillion, trillion, hillion, like some child's number really, people are going to use every day. That's something that we aspire to. And then we want to be seen we want to be seen as, I have a few nephews and nieces, and if you do something that find... Huh?
You do?
I do, yes, I'm an uncle. That's really cool.
Forget.
Uncle is the perfect thing. I would not want to be a parent, to be honest, because basically you like have all the fun and then they start crying and you go like, it was like that when I got it, I'm sorry. And that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, but you want to be seen as, or you want to be seen to be like the person who was successful in that sense. And I think it's also probably, I've seen it in sports. I've been doing sports when I was young and fit. Now I'm neither. And people buy equipment from a certain brand because the person they are admiring in that sense is using it for their professional sports, even though they have there's worlds between what they do and what you do, but it feels the right thing to be doing, right? And then you might come out as it feels really good if someone says like, oh yeah, this is our local, I don't know, Bill Gates. Or if your parents say like, yeah, he's like Bill Gates, he's making money off of computers because that's kind of how they think. It feels good to be seen as that, doesn't it? If I would say like, hey, wow, you're amazing, you're probably the next Ada Lovelace. It does feel good, doesn't it? A tiny bit, yeah. I mean, you are totally, but...
I actually want to go back to something that you said, which I think is very important, because you were saying something about that when you build such a thing like Facebook, for instance, that there was this part of brilliance in it. My question is, how much of it is brilliance, and how much of it is work, and how much of it is learning to do that stuff?
Very good point.
Because I truly, truly, truly believe, also from my experience, that the brilliance factor, I mean, sure, there is, but in comparison to the amount of things that you're learning and the amount of work that you put into something is such a tiny fraction.
Yeah, I agree. I should have used a different word. See, that's what I said when I said we internalize the stereotype and this myth. It is brilliance is an interesting one. Let me rephrase that. He might have took a step back, and wherever in his learning curve he was, I think it doesn't matter where in your learning curve you are. The idea is, because we are different people and we have different ideas at different times, you might be going, what if I take this very simple building block and this very simple building block and put them together? And then something happens that is more than the sum of the parts. And that is learning as well, because basically you can literally be so I've seen people who have never done any programming work with A-frame, for instance, which is the thing that I talked about today. And what I found interesting is that you would expect, like, okay, yeah, I see like amazing, cool web VR applications that have been built by people who are working in 3D graphics for the last 25 years. But people build things that I would not have thought of by just putting together a very simple, like, I put a box and this animation, and I put it together, and then I put this other thing here, and then I have a TV that is interactive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, that was, exact magic. That was amazing. And it wasn't that they were like well-trained experts that have learned all the things already. It was part of their learning curve. It was not that it was not that they learned, and then a magical fairy came and went, bing, you are now a developer, and you're now awesome. Yeah. And then they went, oh, I put this together, and voila, magic. It is, I think, putting things together is the magic, is the brilliance, really. And it is pretty random what you put together, and it depends on what you are interested in and what your experiences have been, I think. So, and with experiences, I do not mean as a developer, I mean as a human being. Right? If you have been growing up in a refugee camp, you might have very different experiences than the middle-aged German guy that has grown up in Germany his entire life and has never to, fear for his health or food or shelter. So having these different experiences allow you to see the world differently and then come up with different solutions to the same problems. This is why diversity fucking matters. Okay? And
I'm not sure.
I'm not allowed to swear. Fucking is not a swear word. It's a technical term. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Awkward silence now. 2 minutes at least.
I'm sorry. Should I stand in the corner with face to the wall?
We don't have any corners here. Sorry. So what is the stereotype? What was your stereotype? Like, what was
my stereotype?
Or do you still have one?
As in how I perceive developers? Ah, right. So it actually it was really good to be at different communities and meet different communities and meet different people at conferences and all over the world, and open source as well. Because I had a stereotype, and my stereotype was, to be very frank, also like let's be harsh and honest, the white guy sitting in front of a screen all the time. And then I noticed, I fucking hate, I'm sorry, I really hate sitting in front of the really hate sitting in front of the screen all day. I want to go out. I want to go take a hike, or see
Right.
art or whatever, or draw. I'm really bad at drawing though.
It's actually, sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you,
no.
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm struggling with the same thing in terms of, for me, the stereotype is, or at least the stereotype that I'm adhering to and
Yeah.
like miserably failing at is, it's the kind of developer that, well, works at least 10 hours a day for work. And then you do extra reading aside because you want to keep up and you're afraid that you're going to miss out, and you should be trying all these things, which many times puts me in this very difficult position of, I don't have any spare time to do anything of the other things that I'm actually interested in.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking with Amy. She's an amazing person and an amazing developer, and we were talking about exactly the same thing, that sometimes it's because she was just starting out, and she was just saying, well, there's so much to read, and I want to do all these things, but I also like running, and I really want to keep running in the morning, and we were just talking, yeah, but I mean, there's no rule that says that's not okay, or that you really have to do all those things.
Yeah. I know exactly how you feel. And let me guess, you don't have time for the things you want to do, right?
Well, I'm making time. I'm making more time
but
now.
That's because that's the thing,
Yeah.
exactly. But before, I bet a year ago or so, if I would have asked you, like, so are you still going for a run? You would have said, oh, I don't have time, right?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
what happened to me. So I was stupid enough to get bored in university and start an agency, because that's what you do, obviously. And I worked my lower back off. It takes a while, I know. It still says what I wanted to say. So, and I was feeling like I really have to pull this off, because if I'm not pulling this off, then I'm not successful. I'm a failure to the entire world, and including my family. And oh my God, everyone's gonna hate me, and everyone's gonna point fingers and laugh at me. And then I had a burnout. Yay! And that was a moment where I could not function anymore. I was in a deep, deep depression for a little more than 6 months, I think, and everything kind of broke away from me, and that was really, really terrifying, because I thought, okay, now is the moment where everyone's going to point fingers and laugh at me. That never happened.
Yeah.
Except a few people stopped being in my network. I wouldn't even call them friends. Like, business partners buggered off, clients buggered off, things broke down, that's sure. None of that what we built back then exists anymore. It's ephemeral in the sense of, once you stop maintaining it, once you stop paying for domains, they disappear. Yeah. And I took the decision, which was really hard, to not touch computers afterwards until I really feel comfortable again, and I really feel the spirit that I really want to touch computers again. And I worked in call centers as a call center agent, which technically means I touched computers, but let's not be, don't do that, don't pick on that. So I was in a call center. I did ticket checking in German trains. That was hilarious, because you have like a lot of drunk people in the morning on weekends. It's hilarious. Like, tickets, please. And then you want me to punch you where exactly? And you're like, oh, right, never mind then. Police, that guy. So, and I did all sorts of weird things at that time, and I noticed, you know what? People still like me. I'm still alive. No one's like pointing fingers and laughing, or my family is not going like, oh, he ashamed us all.
Right, and this is why I was saying that it's more about the inner struggle.
Yeah,
because it's the self expectations. It's your own expectations. It's not because the others will not see you in any other way.
Nope.
Or will not think less of you. So it's really this self.
Yeah, there's two kinds
mechanism.
of people, really, if you look at it from that perspective. There's the people who like you because you are who you are, and that has nothing to do with what you work on or what you kind of produce or whatever you want to call that. And then there's the people who do not care about you. I wouldn't even say hate, but like literally just they're meh, like they're ignorant of you. And trying to convince these people to become the people who like you is never going to succeed. And then you're having this expectation of you.
Well, that's just doing it wrong. I mean,
But,
it's
yeah, I mean,
just not about that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And the problem is that in technology, we're admiring and like making rock stars out of people who build a thing that we really enjoy. Like a framework or a library or an operating system. I mean, there's still browser wars going on with some people. Get over it. It's a tool. It's a program on your device. Get over it. It's not like a religion, please. But yeah, we define ourselves with these in-groups, kinda, and then we want to be like admired in these in-groups.
Yeah, but I also think it's kind of a skewed perception of
It is.
that we have of those people, because I mean I've met many people in the community that I really, really admire, and I always had this impression, oh, you know, I could not speak with any of the Angular core team members when I saw them at my first NGConf. Like Brad came to me and I was like really scared to say anything because I was afraid. No, but
Yeah.
it's like, and then at one point, I think it was Igor that said, but you know, you're just people. We're also learning. We also don't
That's
know
the thing.
everything. So it's so much of a projection.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately that's such a big showstopper.
It is.
Because that can really make the difference. It's not the technical skills, because technical things we can all learn. But sometimes I feel that, at least for some people, this doesn't apply for everybody, but for some people, I think that this can really make such a big difference between staying or going further.
And by the way, just saying, do that on every event or conference or whatever you go to. Talk to the speakers.
Oh yeah.
We are literally like there's no difference between us and you except for we are sitting on the stage, but you could as well. I'm absolutely sure if you would sit here, it would be just as good or bad, whatever you feel about this. But seriously, we want to be talked to. It is absolutely bizarre to be a speaker and putting yourself out here and trying to share an idea or something with an audience. And then, for instance, in lunch breaks, you go to the lunch break and then you stand there and eat, and like everyone else is avoiding you. I'm not kidding. That happens. If there's no speaker that I know and we are not like clicking together well enough so that the speakers go together, then it can happen that speakers sit alone. And that's not because we choose to. Maybe some might, but I don't. And I'm sure you don't either. It's just because everyone's like, ooh, oh. No, we're not like any special. And if you ask us, what do you think? What do you need to become a speaker?
Oh, well, well, you need to program in at least 10 languages. And you have to contribute to at least 20 open source projects.
And then you have to have taken the speaker's test as well, the exam.
Oh yeah, that one, it's like a TOEFL, but it's only valid for 1 year.
Yeah, that's really shitty. Don't tell the organizers, mine expired yesterday. But yeah, right? You know that. And before I started, I never thought of being on a stage except for maybe being shot or something. But somehow I went like, I built this thing that draws triangles really fast, and I kind of find it cool because it runs in the browser, and then people are like, oh my god, that's awesome. And I'm like, well, no, this is really stupid, and it doesn't do anything productive, and why do you talk to me now? And then I learned that they're just like me. If I would have been sitting in the audience, I would have been exactly like that. Like, oh my god, this is cool. Oh my god. And yeah, don't make this projection, as you say.
So, what was your? Did you ever have a sort of an aha moment when it was that somehow things became more clear to you, or that it had a huge impact on how you saw things?
I had a bunch of these. First things first, I had the ridiculous opportunity. So, okay, here's what happened. I wrote a really I don't know. So JSConf US a couple of years back had a call for papers open, and I'm like, I would hate myself for not submitting, but I don't have to tell, like, this is an amazing crowd, and there are amazing speakers there already. I do not have anything reasonable to contribute, really, but I'm gonna write an email just to, so that I'm in peace with myself. And I wrote literally like, WebGL plus WebVR plus WebSockets equals awesome. That was literally the entire, that was, I can find the email. It was more, like, the wording might be slightly different, but that's pretty much my proposal, right? And I'm like, that's never going to be chosen. Particularly, I hope that it would never be chosen because I never did that. I just wanted, I was like, I will never make time for actually building that unless someone forces me to. So I'm like, I've submitted it. What can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that I never hear back from them, or I hear that's rejected. That's okay. If they say we want that, then I have to freaking build it, which is amazing because I want to build it, but I can't be arsed really. And they chose it. And they told me 3 weeks before the conference. And yeah, you say that now, but actually that was really frightening. Because I didn't even know if I would be able to make it happen. I kind of was. We were in VR with 30 people at that day, so that was pretty cool. But that was an aha moment for me, as in, I do something that I find really stupid, and I certainly do not have much expertise in it. That's the point here. It's not that I am a weathered, proved expert. I haven't done this for the last 10 years. I haven't even done it once. Yet I was accepted because the idea is interesting to someone out there.
Yeah.
And then I presented it, and everyone loved it as far as I can tell. So a lot of people came back to me with really good feedback and really enjoyed it, and people still talk about this experience.
So you didn't sit alone.
So, and I'm like, what? I do not have to be an expert to do these things, right?
Yeah.
And that was one aha moment. And another aha moment was for me, I wrote a book on polymer in German, don't worry. And so that's never going to see the light of day, really. 10 people bought it, maybe, I don't know. I wrote that book on polymer, and I was stressing out a lot because I'm like, okay, I built a few polymer applications, but I'm not sure. I have never written a book. I'm not sure. I haven't been in the internals of polymer. I know how web components work, kinda, but I'm not a browser developer. I haven't been involved with any of the specs, and blah. And I wrote that book, and then it was time for the technical reviews, and I was very scared. And I got back that people learned a thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that you what? And it was people who I would be looking up to. That was the thing. It was people who know, in my opinion, knew more about it than I did, and they told, oh, I didn't know that you can do that. I'm like,
I did.
Yeah. No, I didn't know either. I just wrote the book, and I'm like, And then I tried it out. I'm like, ooh, this works. That's fantastic. In the book it goes. That's how that book came to be, and people like it.
That's good.
I mean, what was your aha moment? Did you have an aha moment?
Oh, I had one. I had one very recently. So for me, I don't know, my demon was always that I always had the feeling that whatever project I'm starting with, I have to know it. Like whatever technology, it doesn't matter. It can be PHP, it can be Java, I have to know it. How can I not know it? And of course, how would I know it without working with it beforehand? Nobody really asked themselves that question. But so, and there was this point when I realized that I'm getting so stressed out by the fact that I don't know how to solve a particular problem that I forgot to actually look at the problem as a challenge. Like if I go to interviews and somebody gives me a problem to solve, I mean, you know how it goes. And then I'm like, oh, okay, problem, challenge, you go, you do it. But when I was at work and I encountered something that I didn't have the answer to straight away, I would panic. And the aha moment was that I panicked so bad that I was not able to do anything about it. So instead of seeing it as a challenge and actually taking up to the challenge. I would just stay very stressed out that I don't know how to, how could I not know how to do it?
That's an interesting aha moment.
And it was, I mean, and it really changed things for me, because now I'm actively reminding myself of that, and at least there's no blockage and there's more flow, and it just makes so much more sense.
I had that with pair programming as well. So when you pair up with someone who's on more or less, or what both of you consider the same level, then you'll find out that the things that they struggle with might be easy for you, and then there's things that you struggle with that is easy for them, and then there's the best things ever, which both of you struggle with.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, this is not just me, this is the thing that, okay, cool.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. So, I don't know, do we need a dev stereotype 2.0?
I think we do, because that's what people like. People have a lot to think about, so they like stereotypes because they provide a fast and hard answer. At least it feels like it is a fast and hard answer. So maybe we should take the narrative into our hands and create one. Create the developer stereotype that we want to identify with, rather than taking on the role that is imprinted on us, right? You don't have to be that. We can say, no, actually, that's not true. The developers that I met are ...
I don't know, I feel that in my opinion, I think it would be such a relief if you didn't feel that you had to, I don't know, fulfill some sort of great deity plan out there, set in stone for you, that you could just, I mean, there's no, you can just be what you are and be a developer and be a runner or a dancer or, I don't know, whatever else you want to be.
But the thing is, humans work with stereotypes, so I'd rather have as unclear or as fuzzy stereotype as we can make it. It doesn't have to be, what I don't want to see is, what I definitely do not want to see anymore is the stereotype of, oh, you're not a programmer if you're not turning the bits on your hard drive with a magnet. And then someone's going to come like, I turn the bits by, you know, having a butterfly flap in a certain way and then whatever. I want a stereotype to say developers are people who are interested in solving problems, for instance. Because that's the thing.
That's a nice one.
That's the thing. Or maybe that's a bad one. I don't know. Maybe developers are people who share the things they learn with. Or maybe developers are people who like to help others. They have to be kind.
That's my,
be kind,
that's my
be open,
only
be
contribution.
Yeah.
To the 2.0 version. I'm going to make a pull request for that.
Yeah.
So I always say that when I watch a movie, for me I say that it was a good movie if it gave me food for thought. So assuming this was sort of kind of a good movie, what would we like to come out of it? Like, what is the message that we want to?
What do you think? I think part of it is we all struggle. No one out there knows what the heck they're doing, and that's the beauty of it. There's nothing wrong with that, to be honest. If you come to me and ask me like, so Martin, in Angular 4, how do you display 5,000 elements in a list that scrolls nicely on a Nexus 7? I'm like, I don't know. And don't approach it as, I don't know, oh my God, I'm a terrible person or I'm a terrible developer. Approach it as, I don't know, and it's an interesting question, let's find out.
I think for me, it would be that learning is underrated somehow.
It is.
Or the struggles of learning, and that's how you progress. That's how you
true.
Go forward.
I think experience is overrated, learning is underrated, because they go together. You can't have experience without learning.
Exactly.
And learning means making mistakes.
Exactly. Okay, I have a quote for this.
Careful! Whoa!
That went well.
Yeah, some things in life are wired. I notice that every now and then as well.
Darn.
It's terrible.
It's horrible. Horrible.
And some other things do not have touchscreen capabilities. That's also terrible. if you have no idea how many ATMs I went like this. Oh, there's a button.
Okay, so let's finish with this. It's on a very happy note. So, this is it, said Arthur. We are going to die. Yes, said Ford. Except, no, wait a minute. He suddenly lunged across the chamber at something behind Arthur's line of vision. What's this switch? He cried. What? Where? Cried Arthur, twisting around. Nah, I was only fooling, said Ford. We are going to die, after all.
That's a beautiful quote from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Low high five.
No high five. Well, high one.
Yeah.
It's a high bit, single bit. See, you're all clapping, but we do not have 8 fingers on a hand, just saying. So we can't do a high bite.
Oh.
Well, we can, but it's like super awkward, whatever.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all, and I hope that you take something from this.
Yeah, hopefully it was not just jibber jabber.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Has been a pleasure, thank you.
Thank you. Should we get off the stage, or we're pretty comfortable here, so
It's actually
we
quite
can just
nice.
stay. Yeah, it's good.
Especially this, I haven't taken advantage of this.
Yeah?
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Spin around.
We are exactly doing what you say. You noticed that one. You have authority here. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The authority says we stay.
I mean, we have no idea what's going on, so.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I think it's important that we all should be empathetic and understand that we're all struggling, and we're all struggling with different things. And there's no such thing as the real developer. I think that's an important thing. I don't know. Whatever. Beers.
Awkward silence. Yeah, beers.
How are you doing? Yeah? Awesome. That's really cool. How did you like the first day? What's it? How did you like the first day? Yes.